Okay, now we're going to introduce the arithmetic application. It's another demonstration application. Doesn't have a whole lot of real-world value, but it will serve our purposes. The arithmetic application kind of expands on and does some things in addition to, does what the division application does, but also does some things in addition to that. So, in other words, where the division application assumes that you want to perform division on the two values, in the arithmetic application you can choose what sort of arithmetic operation you want to do on the two values that you're entering. So the way it works is you would enter a value in the first text box, a value in the second text box. You would choose an operation. X is multiplication. We got divided by, addition, subtraction. So you choose your operation, and when you click go, the results show up in the result text box. So here we're saying we want to multiply 4 by 5. We should expect 20 to show up in the result text box, and that's what happens. If we divide 4 by 5, I think it was 0.8 that we found as the result of that. That's what shows up. If we add 4 and 5 together, we expect 9 to show up. And if we subtract 5 from 4, we should see -1 show up. And all those things are what it does. So now let's take a look at the code. So some of the things you can see from the code are quite similar to the code you saw in the division app. So we've got code so that as values are entered or taken away from the two different text boxes, that whether or not the go button is enabled is handled here appropriately with this code. Then we've got the code that happens when you click the go button, where it performs the requested operation. So all it does is it determines what the user has chosen to do. If the user has chosen multiplication, it does multiplication. If they've chosen division, it does the division, and all, etc., all the way down through the different operations. So if we look at the do subtraction code, we can see that how it start to see how it's quite similar to the code that at least that we started with in the division application. As a matter of fact, you can interpolate that and see that the code in the division function is that happens when they've chosen division, that is the same code that we started with in the division application. So real quickly, all it does is it converts the value in the first text box to a decimal, converts the value in the second box to a decimal, subtracts one from the other. This is the subtraction routine, so it's going to subtract. It subtracts one from the other, and it shows the results in the result text box. So you can kind of go down through the different operations and see that they're doing that exact same thing, and essentially the only change in each case is the operation that they do on the two values. So that's the code that we currently have in the arithmetic operation, or I'm sorry, the arithmetic application. One of the things I want to point out is that we can reuse some of the stuff we learned in the division application here in our arithmetic application. So one of the things we learned in our division application is that we can't count on the user to always enter numeric values in our text boxes, and we need to essentially not blow up when they enter a non-numeric value. We need to just tell them that they entered one, but not try to perform the operation, because that causes a bug. So you can see we don't have any code like that in here. The second thing we learned is that in division, when the value, even when the values in the text boxes are numeric, if the value in the second text box is 0 and they've chosen division, that's going to cause a bug. So what we need to do to prevent that is to check for that value being 0 and tell the user that that's invalid, rather than trying to perform that operation and letting the bug occur. So we're going to add that code and just run those couple of tests again and convince ourselves that we have prevented that bug, those bugs that we already know about in this application. Okay, now we've added the code to guard against the two bugs that we had discovered in the division application. So essentially what we've added is when the user clicks go, the first thing that we do is we check that both those values are numeric. If either are non-numeric, we show the user a box saying that they must be a whole number, and then we return, so we don't try to do anything more. The other piece of code we've added is that if the user has chose division, we check that if the second value is 0, we tell them that you can't divide by 0, and we return, so we don't try to perform the operation, and we aren't vulnerable anymore to that bug. So now we just want to run those couple of tests and check real quickly that we have eliminated those bugs from our arithmetic application. So the first thing we want to do is we want to try to divide or multiply, let's say, 4 by a, and we expect there to be a box pops up that tells us both values must be a whole number. That's what happened. So we didn't get the bug, so we passed that test. Now we just want to do a times a times 4. We hit go, and we see that both values must be a whole number. We don't get the bug, so we're okay. Now I'm just going to do a little exploratory testing. This is a test we haven't predefined, but I will add it to our regression test cases. I can guarantee you that. And we want to see what happens if both values are a numeric text or a non-numeric value. So we expect to get the same box. Feel pretty confident based on our code that we will, but testing is always the better way to determine something. So I'm going to click go. I see that I get the text box. I don't get the bug, so we did that. When I say we did that, what I mean is that we guarded against that bug successfully, and we passed all those tests. So we see that we've guarded against both the bug that happens when they enter a non-numeric value and the bug that happens when they enter 0 as the second value. So we have successfully reused what we learned in the division application in our arithmetic application.